Hello, everyone. My name is Musara Kusaibat. I am currently a student in Finance 520, FinTech, and Machine Learning. This interview is a part of business development and industry research project where we speak with the professionals working in the areas related to financial technology, AI, cybersecurity, and digital governance. Today, I'm joined by Stanley Li, who has experience in the cybersecurity, AI, and governance. Stanley, thank you again for taking your time to speak with me today.
My pleasure. Glad that I can help.
Yes. Okay, let's start. Uh, is more financial institution adopting AI and digital system? What cybersecurity concern stand out to you the most right now?
I would say is the acronym battle, which the way that we defined it is the misunderstanding between the stakeholders. And to be more precise in what we do, we basically breaking our product and services to three groups of stakeholder within an organization, which is the business executive, the C-suite, the board of directors, and then the governors, which might be compliance risk officers, and also the technologists being the IT cybersecurity department. And we see the challenge is how they communicate between the boardroom to the server room and vice versa.
Okay, thank you. Do you think most company are truly prepared for these risks, or are many still catching up?
Well, I would have to put it into the perspective of the level of cognizance, which is awareness and knowledge. And also it a lot to do with the resources. For example, like the enterprises, which they have more resource in terms of subject matter expertise as well as budget, engaging with the best solutions out in the market space. And then you're going into the mid-sized company who might have some and who are already investing money into IT cybersecurity, but they might not have all the subject matter expertise required to basically provide the contextual correlations. And then the third element is the small businesses or the solar entrepreneurs who might not even have any resources, and also that might including the nonprofit organization as well. And so the three, even though in a very loosely defined, the small and the mid-size and the enterprises, they all have some level of challenges, even though they have resources, but it's still because it's evolving in the technology world of cybersecurity, information technology, and then also it's the evolving world with the complexity of compliance requirements, regulatory requirements. So they all have a different element that they have to manage. But of course, with the resource that, if they have the resource that usually it's a larger organizations, the complexity level also multiply because of the different level of people involved into cybersecurity or even compliance and regulatory requirements.
Okay, thank you. Do you think AI is changing areas like fraud detection, financial risk management, and business operation with the financial institution?
Absolutely, it helps. But also at the same time, just like any technology, it also open other flaws, other problems within technology itself. In AI in particularly, we know AI has a everybody talked about the hallucinations, right? So, but also the way we see it from a data privacy and data sovereignty perspective, if you interacting with AI, you have to share some of the company information, some level of your data into the LLM, the modelings, right? So you can interact and get their, generative response and recommendations. And we see this as the biggest part of the issue at this current time is how can you governing the process with the staff to share what is to be, non-sensitive material, which is very hard to judge. So this is the area that we are focusing on. How can we provide the governance process within that, with the interaction between the human in the staffing and the AI, the LLM model out in their cloud?
Okay. Do you see AI eventually become a necessary for companies rather than just an advantage?
Yes, we evolve our whole company because of that. We see that coming in. We already starting to play around with AI back in 2018, and so at that point, of course, most of the people don't really know what AI is. Not a household word that it is today. So technology has been around for decades, AI, artificial intelligence. We're just that now, of course, with OpenAI, the ChatGPT has exploded the entire environment. And that's not going to go away. The way we see it, or at least from my personal point of view, it's just like computer. Back in those days, from the educational perspective, do they allow to use of computer? Or even calculator
Yeah.
in even older times, right? So of course, you cannot really control the use of the technology after you get outside of the classroom environment. So AI, the way I look at it is everybody should adapt into the use of AI, but providing the governance and the guidance and as part of the requirement, how to use AI. What do you expect of AI? What are the pros and cons of AI? But this is the part that we have to embrace, just like any new effective technology can help us to improve our innovations, improve our efficiency and effectiveness. But at the same time, that we have to safeguard or putting some guardrail into how to use tool in particular of AI, because it can go into a very different direction if we don't manage it properly.
Okay. So a lot of companies are moving quickly to adopt AI technology. From your perspective, how important are the governance and the compliant when you implant these systems?
Well, which is still in a lot of discussions because there is no one size fit all environment. So recently we've been working with consultants within the ISO 42001, um, which is the AI management system. And also that our model is based on what I call the AI square, which is artificial intelligence, the LLM of the world, and also the augmented intelligence, which is human expertise based on the subject matter that they evolve into verifying and validating the AI is not producing anything that is hallucinations that could potentially have a reverse effect and to the organizations. If we don't manage that properly, it can easily get out of hand. Or like I said earlier, if we, blindly sharing any kind of data out and hoping the individual users, using their own discretions, their own judgment to sharing those data with the LLM, that could potentially be disaster for the company as well. So this is a still evolving topic in terms of the governance processes. And then also that every organization has their own risk appetite. So it's a lot to do with how each individual company would like to manage that processes.
Okay. Could weak governance eventually create a trust issue for business or financial institution?
Well, I see that I've been playing, as I said, that's first we start playing around with the AI, when it's in the very early stage, and then comparing to the last 3 years that we, spending more time. And personally, I spend a lot of time with the AI. I see the model has improved drastically. And as you can see now, the different version of the modeling that has been improving, as I said, you know, very, very fast as
Yeah.
well, right? So this is the part that I see that Yes, and I just share this kind of analogy with one of my developer today. As we continue to collaborating with our AI model, that is going to improve to that 90 percentile. But it's still that 10%. And however you want to look at it depends on how complex is the subject, what kind of topics are we discussing with the AI. That 10%, 20% is remaining to be needed to be governance by the human and continue to drive the accuracy. Yes, the LLM can give us the speed, but the how we interacting with the result of the LLM needs to be very careful and very meticulously watching what is producing. Now, as it continued to increase the accuracy, just like any human, we get to tend to be more, relaxed because oh, we see it as pretty correct. But this is where that how we bounce it off from our team member. I everybody has that kind of things, when you after you spend so much time into a single subject, you get tired, you get blinded by it. So this is where we are encouraging to work in the teamwork. And now we have another party coming in to look at, okay, what is the result that I interacting with the AI that I already refined it a few times. Now another pair of eyes looking at what my deliverables are. So they can add their perspective into it. And if you do that with multiple people, then at least that there might be something that it might be caught by somebody else that is not so tired, not fatiguely looking at all the same document over and over again. This is the part that the teamwork comes in very critically. How do I communicate with my team member what I want, what do I want to get out of it? Even though AI is a significant part of that, but when I'm interacting with my designer, with the engineer, with the developers, they have to understand what my vision is. What do I want to get out of it? And AI is just one part of that. And all all the stakeholders within who I talked about earlier, they needs to be interact with that generative recommendations because they have the expertise to offer that might change the deliverables. They might change the course. So these are the things that if you just interacting with AI, you get easily blinded by it. So teamwork, communications, how we collaborate becomes the key part of what we're doing on a daily basis.
Okay, thank you. Have How should Ventech companies balance the evaluation and the growth while still maintain strong cybersecurity and compliance standards?
We see that in the news every day. Some company got hacked, right? Every day. And in fact, Canvas got hacked and, announced that they got hacked. They got hacked in April, but they announced it last week, which affecting all the students, including San Francisco State students, right?
Yeah.
So this is the part that cybersecurity is an ongoing process, if the way I look at it. Nobody is able to make it perfect. By the time that your organization, you think that you spend enough money and you think it's perfect, there's a new hacking techniques come in here and change that game. All it takes is just one bad, attack vector that can basically bring the whole castle down. So this is the part that how do we remain vigilant? How do we remain cyber resistance? Resilience is part of an ongoing process as part of the risk management. So it doesn't matter whether there's fintech, and in fact, that because of this interview, I interacting, looking at the DeFi subject because of the fintech, Finance 520. DeFi is one of the key area. But as you can see that even blockchain technology, they talk about how secure that is. But at the same time that you also see a lot of company that involved with blockchain technology has also been hacked as well too. So that shows you that the cybersecurity is an ongoing subject. And where we're looking at a lot of company has, let's just say, for example, from a technical perspective, they have done a penetration test once a year, and they think that they already satisfy, the cybersecurity requirement. So just simplifying this conversation. But in fact, we see that a lot of times that after they have completed the penetration testing, the hack might change few months or few weeks or even few days later. Now that new hack that it was not able to detect as they perform the penetration testing, it might still break down the whole entire cybersecurity infrastructures or the practices. So these are the area that how does an organization maintaining vigilance and maintaining cyber, resilience. It's a debate, it's an ongoing subject, but these are the things that how can we leverage AI to effectively and efficiently producing maybe some type of tools, processes, or evaluations. This is where the AI technology can come in and help. And in fact, that Claude talked about the new model methods and that they can identify the 90% of the hack, and but at the same time that if it gets into the wrong hand, that means there's more cyber attack will be happening. The way we look at it, no matter how the companies safeguarding their technology, like what Claws and Gemini's are trying to do, and all those hacking techniques, it will get out. And these are the things is we try to advocate to educate our community. Look, don't take anything for granted. Even though you have done your penetration test yesterday, but you still got to keep looking at the different areas. How can you continue to improve your cyber resilience at a budget that it meets the company's requirement?
Okay, okay, I see. So do startup sometimes move too quickly and underestimate the long-term opportunity of risk?
Absolutely. So we all human at the end of the day, right? So
Mhm.
even though we in the cybersecurity has been, and you can see a lots of cybersecurity company also get hacked, right? So these are the things that, when you have a company grow to a certain size, and now with the attack vector is not really just looking at the technology flaw, it's looking at the social engineering aspect of it. Then these are the ways that the bad actors come in and try to poke into any company's cybersecurity flaw, including the social engineering aspect, the human aspect of the company. These are the continuations that we have to, our first mission is to basically elevate connaissance. How can we continue to elevate the awareness and the knowledge around cybersecurity? And this is also how we tying into the risk management aspect of it, because no company has unlimited budget to spend on cybersecurity, and you can go into that rabbit hole forever. But and then how do you find the right balance based on the company's resource, the budget, the human expertise? At the same time, what are they achieving in terms of the GRC, which is governance, risk, and compliance objectives?
Okay. From your business standpoint, how important cybersecurity when it comes to maintaining the investors' confidence and the consumer's trust?
So part of what we do is the service we offer to go through the due diligence process when we evaluate for, in particular, like investors and the M&A, merger and acquisitions. And there are cases, many cases. One of the biggest cases of Verizon buying Yahoo, when and then when they find out that Yahoo actually had data leak, the valuations brought down into multi-millions. I don't know exactly the number. You can Google it and find it. So these are millions of dollars at stake, and that was the biggest, the examples that shows in the due diligence process that ties in into cybersecurity issues. So when Verizon purchasing and find out the valuation, find out they have hacked, they have already got hacked, these are the financial return on investment we are talking about. For Yahoo perspective, their valuation dropped tremendously, and that affecting the shareholders in terms of their return on investments. These are the correlations that we basically try to connect the dots as part of the due diligence process, and to basically give them what we positioning ourselves as a third party risk assessor to ensure that they both sides understand the buyer and the sellers. What are they dealing with in terms of the financial aspect of it because of the cyber risk?
Okay. What's the difference do you usually see between the startup and the large company and in how they approach cybersecurity and governance?
Well, startup always using the reason that we don't have the resources, right? So, and
Yeah.
then of course, this is not tr only true for the startup, it is also true for the mid-size, even larger enterprises. Like I said, there is never enough, there is no unlimited budget. And what I refer as the cybersecurity black hole, you can continue to sink a lot of money into that. But the startup tends to be a lot of times that we don't have enough time, we don't have enough money, we don't have enough people. So cybersecurity becomes an afterthought. And but at the same time, what we're looking at the industry from cyber insurance perspective, tied it into the financial aspect of it. Now the insurance company also looking at the company. It's like, what are you doing? What are you involved in? Is your startup dealing with data privacy issues? For example, like a HIPAA compliance or a clinic or a startup that needs to get involved with um, HIPAA compliance requirements. That is being very strict, and that's a lot of penalty. That's a lot of money that potentially involved if the company got hacked. Doesn't matter you're a startup or big mature company. But if it's a startup, basically you can, because of the cost of the penalty and the cyber insurance might not cover everything if you get hacked, then your company basically has to dissolve because that the lawsuit that with the years of lawsuit or the data privacy involved, that the company would not be able to sustain to pay those penalties.
Um,
So these are the cases has been widely documented. Lots of small, I just small companies. Actually, within 6 months after they got hacked, like 60% that they have to close up. They have to file bankruptcy because they don't have the business continuity plan. They can sustain those. And then, of course, if there's ransomware attack, the cyber insurance is not going to pay for it. And basically, they have to absorb that cost. And that would basically drive the company to closure.
wow. So do the large companies have an advantage because of their research, or can startup sometimes adopt faster?
Yes, I would say that, of course, that is part of the financial aspect of it. You got deeper pockets, you can recover from it a little bit easier. And as you can, again, there's the another case that its example is Jaguar Land Rover out of out of UK, that because it was affected by to the 5,000 supplier, over 5,000 supplier to the Jaguar Land Rover, that the UK government has to bail them out because of the cybersecurity attack. So this is the case that you are so large in the scale, you're affecting so many people involved, their livelihood, their financial status. So you will get bailed out, and you will get basically some type of cyber insurance may able to cover it. So the economic scale would help in terms of that.
Okay, and how do you think regulation surrounding AI and digital financial system will evolve over the next a few years?
That's a race. That's a race between, like you mentioned, about startups. They're using AI to go as fast as they can, to develop as fast as they can. But at the same time, that of course, the cyber criminal also using AI to do the same. Now, with the startup kind of companies, then basically this is the part that how much do you try to balance as you run as fast as possible? Do you look into the business continuity plan? Do you look at, the cybersecurity? How much effort do you want to put into it that you won't get hacked? You won't become another number in the statistics. So these are the things that, yes, it's a race and everybody's in on that race. As an individual, as startup, as larger companies, but at the same time, how do you justify, if you just go full forward 100% without looking over your shoulder, and once you get hacked, then basically your entire company can shut down? And how much do you want to balance, your operation cost to engage with that? Where we looking at this is a lot of open source is being available to help startups to do their job without spending a lot of money. And that's why we also have talked about this in the community, bringing subject matter expertise to share their thoughts. And we also have discussions on the, roundtable discussions to talk about this. How do you mitigate this type of risk? And this is the try to, working with universities and various type of university to help, in the clinic perspective, and sharing these expert tips. And we are actually integrating it into the open source tools. So there are many things in our community and the industries being conducting at the same time. And for example, we are getting involved with them, in the discussions of Texas Cyber Command in the state-run operations, which is also in conjunction with University of San Antonio in Texas. So these are the continuous discussions, sharings, and activity that we try to bring together from an expertise level to the startup, to the SMB of the world, and also nonprofit of the world.
Okay. And do you expect the government to become much more involved in the regulation of the AI technology?
Oh, very much so, because this is, as I said, it's a race between, you can say the good guys and the bad guys, right? So,
Yeah.
yes, the government is very involved, but of course, we break this down into four categories of compliance: the global, regional, local, and industrial. Everyone in one of those four categories is doing something about it. But at the same time, this is where really the organization, are they listening to it? Are they going to try to take the insight into their own practice? Are they, or they just continue to overlooking it because they think it's too costly, or it's too time consuming, it's too confused, whatever the excuse or reason that they put together. We don't believe that there's reason to ignore it anymore. And everyone, including, as I said, as simple as, have a lunch with the staff and talk about cybersecurity, it's already going to be helpful in that process.
Okay. And what areas with the digital finance do you think you need stronger risk management moving forward?
Well, like you already mentioned, risk management, it's a part of the management process. This is the way that when we're looking at the business impact analysis, it's a fundamental, the first five stage. What we're looking at is the BIA, business impact analysis, in which you can find a lot of information about BIA, and we actually put together a playbook, a workbook, and for sharing it to our community. And this is no cost, right? So from an organization, from a startup perspective, just having that discussion surrounding the business impact analysis, it's a starting point. And then the next thing is to look at the open source. If you don't have the money, the budget, then organizations out there put together these open source tools, open source, solutions together to share it. This is another layer as a second stage that we talk about is how do you put a risk register together as part of the management process. So risk register is one part of it. How do you automating it? This is another process. Then it goes into the next step, which is the risk profile, using data analytic to drive the profiling as part of, the continuation of the risk management. So risk profile, and then going into the risk quantifications, And those four stages actually providing as a framework of the NIST 8286, which is integrating cybersecurity and enterprise risk management. That is how we developing our software, our platform, based on that framework in the NIST 8286. Now, of course, there are so many different part of that when you mentioned about risk management. So I'm not gonna go into the depth of into those.
Okay. Um, what emergency technology do you think will have the biggest impact on the financial service over the next decade?
Well, if you're talking about the next decade, quantum computing is definitely on our radar. We have talked about that already. But is it widely available or vastly available for the normal organizations in the next 10 years? We have a doubt on that because
Oh.
they're still developing hardware at this point.
Are there any trends or technology you think might currently be over hybrid? Like,
Yeah, we focusing on smart contract. Again, going back into the blockchain technology, distributed ledger computing and smart contract is the way that what we believe can bridge that gap. And right now, the AES 256, the encryption is already in the market space, right? Lots of different level of encryptions. But then the next thing is basically how can we develop smart contract in that area to provide that additional layer of data privacy and data sovereignty before the quantum computings arrive in the market space.
okay. Uh, what advice would you give to the student who wants to build a career in FinTech, cybersecurity, AI, or related to technology fields?
Join communities, various type of community. Join, association groups, and based on, as I mentioned, depends on what are they focusing on. If they are technologists, governors, or they just entrepreneurship. And these are the different group that will share information to help them to elevate connaissance because it's very important that they need to understand, like I said, to go back into the beginning, to avoid the acronym battle because you hear different people talking about different elements and they using their own language, their own acronym. Don't get confused by it, making sure we, stay focused on their lane and then understanding what that it looks like, what is the details involved with it, learn through all the components, the technology, the language involved into that.
Okay, what qualification or skills usually separate the strong professional from these who's struggling in this industry?
There is no one element to that. It is really the communication skill. It's how do you listening to all these expertise in the field, sharing those information with you to enhance your business, your understanding and what you're dealing with, and then stay focused on your part of it, continue to develop based on the business, on the product development. But you have to basically understanding how to communicate with all the different stakeholders to continue to build that resilience.
Okay. I am sorry at the beginning of the interview I give you the time to tell us a little bit about your background and the type of work you have
Oh,
been
they can find me
involved
in LinkedIn. That's okay. Just put my
and
LinkedIn profile in there.
yes. So can you tell us what did you create? What kind of company did you build? Uh
So in a nutshell, I've been in around in the IT industry for 33 years now. I started as a cable puller, just want to get into the industry. Once I get into the industry, I went become supervisor, project manager, sales engineer, and then finally, before I started my own company, I was a network consulting. Then I started my consulting practice, engineering consulting practice. I went that was starting as a what they call the MSP, managed service provider, providing IT services. And then in 2004, I started getting into cybersecurity. So vulnerability assessment, and then went into penetration testing, IT auditing, and then get involved with the company's governance, risk, and compliance process. So in 2017, 2018, that we start looking into how can we turn that into a software. And of course, COVID, that's when I start writing my patent on cyber risk governance system. So I got my patent called cyber risk governance system in 2023. Then we start going into the open source development and continue to do what we're doing right now.
Stanley, thank you so much again for taking your time to speak with me
My
today.
pleasure.
I really appreciate your inspiration on the cybersecurity, AI, governance, uh, on the future of financial technology. This was very valuable discussion, and I'm grateful for your time, participation here. Thank you again for being
Thank
a
you for having
part.
me.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let me stop recording.